One.
Welcome to the News Notebook, reflection number 3 for current events. We'll start off with week 9, which was about Japan having announced that there will be construction of a massive solar power plant that'll be able to provide electricity for 15 million houses. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, that's a very massive power plant. And I haven't heard of anything so big from a with solar energy. Does it say how many gigawatts it produces?
48.7 megawatts.
Megawatts. Okay, so that's that equals a fossil fuel power plant that we use here to our homes. And I think it shows that Japan, who is totally dependent on other countries for its fossil fuels, doesn't have any of its own. Will be a leader in alternative fuel distribution and production.
I think it also has something to do with sort of a response to the tsunami that did a massive amount of damage to Japan and caused one of the worst nuclear meltdowns in history.
Yeah, I think you're right. The population they have a pretty large population in a very small area. Yeah. And to put that kind of risk, the nuclear meltdown risk, on a coastline, and where there's earthquakes and tsunamis is, I'm sure the population would much rather have solar at this point.
All right, moving on to week number 10. AGCO, which is the world's third largest farming supplies manufacturer, has recently made a decision to center their efforts and business in Africa. I think Africa is a prime spot for agriculture because I believe that 60% of it is still fertile. It hasn't been farmed on in a very long time, at least. And the company says they want to stay there for at least 100 years or so. I think that this is a tremendous step forward, or at least it's going to help Africa tremendously because people try to help them and send them food and things, and what it really needs is to be taught how to self-sustain.
Well, yeah, I think it is a big boon for Africa if they can become not only feed their population but feed other countries and be able to export the product.
Another thing that's going to happen is that millions of jobs are going to be created because of this huge company coming in.
The interesting thing, what makes me think of it is that there is, this year in the United States we had one of the worst droughts we've had in the Midwestern part of the country, which is called the breadbasket of the United States, or the world, where we farm and we export quite a bit of our fruit. But we had this big drought, and that with the fact that we've been farming there for a long time, and the earth is probably needs rest, and as well as other agricultural centers around the world. It's interesting that it would focus on Africa, and one of the most poorest countries in the world, and it could change things drastically for politics and the region.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll bring change. Moving on to week 11. Afghanistan has once again started to frequently executing prisoners. Something
to what prisoners?
Execute.
Oh, execute. Okay.
They've only executed 2 prisoners in the past 10 years, but now there's an estimated 200 prisoners on death row, and I think 12 people have already been executed. No one knows why exactly they've started executing people, but it's going on.
Do they know what they're executing them for? What crimes?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's war criminals.
Well, they've been at war in Afghanistan for more than 20 years straight. If you add the United States and the Russians is that it may be a response, it may be that there is more of a theocracy taking hold, and generally the Islamic, I'm not sure if fundamental is the right word, but the extreme Islamic laws are brutal and, call for, death. And so maybe it's just more that the religious folks are taking more control over the system than more secular.
Maybe. Moving on to week number 12. A mysterious SARS-like disease has been reported in many areas in the Middle East. Health scientists are still not sure how the disease is transferred, or if it could be by contact, like touching. But
can you remind me what SARS is?
It is a. Is it a communicable disease or non-communicable?
They wouldn't worry about it if it wasn't communicable.
That's true.
But I just don't remember what SARS is.
I think it was something like you would get a higher fever and then.
That's a symptom.
Yes.
SARS stands for something. And you really don't know what it is.
I don't.
So,
we're just learning about health, though. We're learning about disease. That's not what this video is about.
Can you put that on hold for a second? Can you pause? No? Well, I don't really know anything about it, and neither do you. And end that conversation real quick.
Hopefully it won't become a global epidemic.
Type in SARS up there.
Severe acute respiratory syndrome. A serious form of pneumonia is caused by a virus that was first identified in 2003. Infection with the SARS virus caused acute respiratory distress, severe breathing difficulty.
And so now this is happening in Saudi Arabia?
Well, it's not the same disease, otherwise we would be able to explain it, but it's
not the same virus.
It's not the same virus, but it's very similar, and scientists are not sure.
Do you know one of the troubles why we have a hard time with viruses?
Well, it's because viruses can't be cured.
No. It's because viruses mutate so rapidly, so that the second you come up with a cure for one virus, it mutates into another one, another form, that your cure doesn't work for anymore. So when they say it's SARS-like, it has all of the same pathogenic, meaning the parts that make you sick. It affects your respiratory system, you get all the same symptoms. But it isn't the same virus. But it could be a mutated form of the original virus. And the reason is they mutate within a generation. So it's like their babies immediately change, whereas it takes bacteria and other forms much longer to adapt to the cures that we come up with. They don't mutate as fast. That's why that's why they don't know what it is, and that's why it's sort of like the other one, and that's why viruses in general are very difficult for us to defend against. But also extremely, extremely small.
Yeah.
Multiples smaller than a bacteria.
Yeah, we were learning about the immune system. It's really incredible.
Yes, it is.
It's pretty incredible. Anyways, we're done. So, reflection. Number 3, this is the last one.
Yeah, way to go.